My name is Nora Cab Bushfield. Sort of drop the L on the K-A-L-B. I was born in Atlanta, native Atlantan, which is sort of unusual, and went to grammar school and high school and college here at Georgia State University. And I went from college to a graduate school, which was Atlanta University, which is a black college. And this was in '65, so it was pretty unusual. I hadn't even attended a school until my last semester in college with a black person. So I went from that type of educational environment to being in the minority, which was just an incredibly fascinating and really nurturing experience, and broadened my horizons in so many ways that no other type of educational experience could have. So after that, I worked for the VA, and I was there right after the Tet Offensive of '68, which was a very difficult time to be working for the VA. And you know, they made a lot of movies about it, so I don't need to go into all that. I left there and became a family therapist, and worked for an organization in Atlanta called Families First. Married a young man that was originally from Virginia, and he wanted to be in Washington, D.C., so I tagged along up there. Did some things that were really interesting related to the federal government. I worked on some national task force and helped develop standards in foster care, helped develop some standards in child abuse and neglect, and also had my own national project that was in juvenile justice. So I had a pretty broad range of experience. And at that time, there was a law school in Atlanta that was part of Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. But their law school was in Washington, D.C. And while you were in law school, you started out the summer before, and you lived in a ghetto part of Washington, D.C. with families, because the school had its own law firm that serviced indigent clients. And the idea, of course, was to get to know the people we were going to be servicing. And it was fantastic. I had a great time. I was with my current husband at that time. We weren't married, but we just loved where I was staying. And we would sit up at night and play cards. And the woman we stayed with was the manager of the housing project. I mean, she was kind of the voice on the board and was a real character. And she liked to drink Pink Ladies. And so my husband really endeared her by bringing her Pink Ladies. And he also went out fishing with a friend of his on the D.C. police force, and they caught a lot of bluefish, which is a fish in the Chesapeake Bay, and we had a block party. We had enough fish, we had a block party. But that experience in that school was incredible. I mean, people that I know who went to different law schools, they don't usually talk about what a fabulous experience they had. Everybody that went to that law school talked about what a fabulous experience it was. We worked in the law firm the whole time we were there. That was actually more important. The work in the law firm was more important than our classwork. We didn't have grades. We had pass-fail. In our last year, we did a field placement in one of the branches of government, either the legislative or judicial or executive branch. And my job was to be a staff person on a subcommittee of the judiciary. And it had to do with insurance. And so I got to do staff work for the presidents of all the large insurance companies. And I think was the first time I remember, anyway, learning how powerful insurance companies are and the kind of political power that they wield in Washington. My courtroom work was primarily dealing with juveniles. There was a young woman who had run away from home. Her father was on the staff of the White House, and she was dancing for her pimp. I don't know what else, but could have been a number of things. But I remember that her dad got her away from this man, and his name was Johnny. And I was pregnant at the time and had delivered my daughter. And the first phone call I got the morning after I delivered my daughter was from Johnny. And he wanted to know how he could get his check. So I said, I don't know, but don't call me when I've just given birth to my daughter and ask me a question like that. So it was funny but irritating, but an adventure. After that, I discovered shortly after our daughter was born that she was profoundly handicapped. She only functions at about a year old. She has intractable seizures, scoliosis, a lot of things. So she took a lot of attention. And for the most part, in her younger years, I took care of her, took her to, visits and everything. And I really didn't get started on what I consider to be my career until I came to Georgia. I began working for a firm that was a national firm called Hyatt Legal Services. And actually it was really a great experience because Joel Hyatt had figured out how to do your basic types of legal services for a set fee. I mean, it was really great, directed toward middle-class Americans, and it worked quite effectively. And I was very fortunate that I worked myself up to become a manager and managed a couple of the offices there for a period of time, and then decided that I should strike out on my own. So I did that in about 1990, set up my own law firm, and gravitated primarily toward the area of family law because I had the experience of being a family therapist. I did that within the context of the Hyatt legal firm, and then I just emphasized it a little more once I got off on my own. And I believe, my feeling is I became quite successful and worked in that until about 1990.